Hello everyone, welcome back. In this episode we continue discussing another major group we have explored, marine crocodiles. When we think of crocodiles, what comes to mind are typically stealthy ambush hunters. They dominate warm regions, occupying the highest ecological positions in rivers and lakes, almost becoming synonymous with freshwater apex predators. But why are not there crocodiles in the ocean? Some might say, what about saltwater crocodiles? Indeed, saltwater crocodiles occasionally enter the ocean, but they primarily live in estuaries and rivers. They can't really be considered true marine crocodiles. Throughout history, marine crocodiles were widely distributed. With numerous species, they ventured into the seas multiple times. Various marine crocodile groups once thrived. Many giant marine crocodiles emerged. After the Triassic mass extinction, false crocodiles perished. True crocodiles emerged victorious. The ancestors of crocodiles looked at the newly born Jurassic world and began considering their future evolutionary paths. The prehistoric crocodile radiation began. Due to their versatile body structure, crocodiles split into three different paths, each sending out their own representatives. One group stayed on land, one group dominated freshwater ecosystems, while another group followed the trends of their era, eagerly preparing to enter the sea. In Jurassic oceans, the marine reptile groups we know best are ichthyosaurs, but in this massive marine invasion, there was one very unique, yet easily overlooked group. These were the pioneers of crocodile marine conquest, thalattosuchians. This group was the earliest marine crocodile family, appearing as early as 180 million years ago. In the early Jurassic, thalattosuchians were the most representative and most thoroughly adapted marine crocodiles. True marine crocodiles usually refer to this family. At that time, ichthyosaurs ruled the seas. Crocodiles quietly observed. With their slender snouts and dolphin-like bodies, they could roam freely in the ocean. So why could not crocodiles do the same? So marine crocodiles learned from ichthyosaurs, developing long, slender snouts. This reduced water resistance, allowing them to quickly snap at small marine animals. Marine crocodiles differed from typical freshwater crocodiles. The biggest difference was their exceptionally large temporal fenestrae. Because marine crocodiles needed to hunt fish at sea, rapid jaw closure required overcoming tremendous resistance. The temporal fenestrae housed jaw muscles, mainly responsible for rapid skull closure. Whether early or later marine crocodiles all shared this feature. Thalattosuchians were based primarily in Europe. They can be divided into two main groups: more thoroughly marine-adapted Metria hinchada and the less specialized Teleosaurida. Teleosaurids typically had elongated snouts, though they went to sea. At first glance, they did not differ much from freshwater crocodiles. Many complete teleosaurid skeletons have been found. Their backs were flattened, and their bones were relatively light, useful for reducing drag while swimming. Their front limbs were small, while their hind limbs were very robust, very different from ichthyosaurs that relied mainly on front limbs for locomotion. Teleosaurids' main members can be divided into Teleosaurida and Machimasauridae. Early teleosaurids were smaller, but very adaptable. Some members ventured into marine commerce. Others became small rulers of estuaries. Some even stayed in familiar territory. For them, though the ocean was vast, sea water was still water. River water was also water. Both contained fish. Was there really such a big difference? After all, ichthyosaurs and other predecessors had been fighting in the seas for years. Rather than compete fiercely, why not become their own local rulers? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Crocodiles mastered the art of strategic flexibility. The other branch of teleosaurids, Machimasaurida, developed in a more focused and determined direction. They did not bother with the diverse strategies of early teleosaurids, instead focusing on becoming versatile hunters with larger body sizes, wider distribution, occupying higher positions in food webs. Members of this family were mostly large-scale rulers spanning two geological periods. The giant Machimasaurus emerged independently. The most primitive and earliest Machimasaur was also a giant, reaching lengths of 5 meters. Around the late Jurassic, Machimasaurus became dominant. They were powerful predators, feeding on larger and harder prey, including the largest marine crocodile, the famous Masaurus itself, also known as Machimo crocodile. Machimasaurus had relatively blunt teeth, with fine serrations, perfectly suited for crushing sea turtles and shellfish. They were specialized shell crushers. Don't be fooled by their slender snouts. Crocodiles never forgot their terrestrial hunting heritage. Even slender-snouted species could deliver devastating attacks. There is evidence of this. Bite marks from Machimasaurus have been found on plesiosaur bones. Machimasaurus fossils have been found in Britain, France, Portugal and other locations. Their presence seems to span all of Europe. This relates to the marine distribution of that time. The Tethys Sea flooded Europe and northern Africa, becoming Macumus's living space. Macumus included many species. Among them was one species that lived in early Cretaceous Africa. This was the largest Macumosaurus rex, reaching lengths of 7–8 meters, but by the Cretaceous, Thalattosuchians were already less dominant than before. Macumosaurus rex was the last glory. Fighting a lonely battle, soon teleosaurids disappeared from history. From early Jurassic to early Cretaceous, over 50 million years, teleosaurids thrived in the seas, yet maintained body structures similar to freshwater crocodiles. Moreover, teleosaurid juveniles often lived in freshwater, migrating downstream to the ocean only as adults. Perhaps this was the most suitable form for crocodiles. The other branch of Thalattosuchians was Metriohinchidae, arguably the most marine-adapted crocodiles in history. This branch of Metriohinchids evolved essentially fish-like body forms. They went to sea alongside teleosaurids, but quickly abandoned their armor, adopting fish-like tails. Metriohinchidae includes Metriohinchina and Geosaurina. Early Metriohinchines were traditional marine crocodiles, with slender snouts feeding on small animals, including Metriohinchus, Cricosaurus, Rachiosaurus, while Geosaurines chose to climb toward the top of the food chain, including Geosaurus, Torvaniustes, Plesiosuchus. They first developed vertebral hypercentrals. Some more advanced Geosaurines formed tight groups, representing the peak strength of Metriohinchids Geosaurini. They made their elongated snouts more robust and efficient, with teeth better suited for cutting, adapted for larger prey. Torvaniustes made their snouts more robust. Though still long-snouted, they could reach 4–5 meters in length. Truly formidable creatures, Geosaurus, though not gigantic, reached maximum lengths of 3 meters, with further shortened skulls, became compact hunters. The largest Metriohinchid was Plesiosuchus, reaching 6–7 meters. This creature was second only to pliosaurs among marine predators. The most famous marine crocodile, Dacosaurus, also appeared. At this time, the renowned Godzilla. We can affectionately call it Big D. Dacosaurus is called the least crocodile-like crocodile. It had a fish-like appearance. Its strength and ferocity were unmatched. Most remarkable were its unique teeth. Just like those of predatory dinosaurs, the type species was from the late Jurassic, a giant predator from Germany. 4–5 meters in length, with a mouth full of sharp teeth, fierce and aggressive. They did not just eat fish anymore, they could even take on ichthyosaurs, with almost no rivals except local pliosaurs. If they had grown even larger, they might have appeared in Jurassic World movies. Playing the role of Mosasaurus, could even attack on land. Another species from the early Cretaceous of South America was Dosaurus andiniensis. Its skull structure was highly specialized, showing almost no trace of crocodilian features. The skull was broad, thick, and highly arched, with large, serrated teeth. This exceptionally robust hardware, combined with a highly streamlined body, represents the pinnacle of crocodilian marine adaptation, possibly among the most powerful large marine predators like Macusaurus rex. Decosaurus andiniensis was also the last Metriohinchid. Together with Macumosaurus rex, these two rulers concluded the Thalattosuchian chapter in early Cretaceous. Although Thalattosuchians exited the stage of crocodilian history, later marine crocodiles continued to emerge. For example, Phyllodosauridea, rather obscure name, but it includes the well-known Sarcosuchus we are familiar with. Of course, Sarcosuchus was not marine. About half of Phyllodosauриds possessed marine characteristics, like the robust Terminaris, similar in size to Macumosaurus rex, plus Ankylosaurus, Oceanosuchus. These later marine crocodiles all mimicked teleosaur morphology, elongated snouts and freshwater crocodile-like bodies. Overall form showed little difference. Phyllodosauridea originated in the Middle Jurassic, growing alongside Thalattosuchians and surviving longer than Thalattosuchians, lasting until the end of Cretaceous, even into the Paleocene. By the late Cretaceous, when Tyrannosaurus ruled North America, new marine crocodiles appeared, seamlessly replacing Phyllodosauриds. These were the close relatives of Phyllodosauриds Dirasauridae and the modern Gavialid superfamily that includes modern gharials. This entire group survived the Cretaceous extinction event. Among them, Dirasaurids were distributed across South and North America and Africa. This was during the Great Whale radiation, yet they still ventured boldly into the oceans. Dirasaurids maintained the original formula, typical freshwater crocodile body form, completely unable to compete with whales, but they were resilient. A meteorite completely devastated the entire whale lineage. So what did this have to do with marine crocodiles? After the mass extinction, the surviving 3 crocodile groups rapidly rose, becoming very prosperous in the Paleocene, distributed around the Atlantic and Arabian regions, repeatedly crossing the Atlantic, spreading to the Western Hemisphere. But marine crocodiles still maintained their fish-eating, slender-snouted mode, lacking ambition. The only change was that some species grew slightly larger, like Dirosaurus, but others like Rhodognathus and Garrinosuchus simply returned to freshwater to compete with mammals for wetlands. Perhaps marine crocodiles never had the heart to conquer the seas, just wanting to live their peaceful little lives. But unexpectedly, the following Paleocene, Eocene thermal maximum, ended the Dirosaurid family. Many people think Cenozoic crocodiles never ventured into the oceans again. However, this is not true. Another group also produced marine crocodiles. These were the gharials. Though most marine crocodiles had slender snouts, they have no relationship with modern gharials, which evolved much later. In the late Cretaceous, true gharials had already appeared, with marine species like the aggressive Thoracosaurus from New Jersey living during the Maastrichtian. Thoracosaurus could have witnessed Tyrannosaurus. Gharials were even more resilient than Dirosaurids, surviving both the Cretaceous mass extinction and the thermal maximum. Though modern gharials are freshwater, most gavialid species were semi-marine, first appearing in Eocene Europe, gradually spreading to Africa, Asia and the Americas, thriving from Eocene to Oligocene. In the Miocene, this age of gigantism, both terrestrial and freshwater crocodiles produced giants like Garrinosuchus and Purosaurus, but marine crocodiles remained unchanged. At that time the seas were battlegrounds for Leviathan and Megalodon. Marine crocodiles were mere supporting characters. However, gharial marine adaptations were consistently the lowest among all marine crocodiles from the Cretaceous onward. Gharials operated on both freshwater and marine fronts. All marine gharials had temporal fenestrae that did not meet marine crocodile standards. Identical to ordinary freshwater crocodiles, they primarily used freshwater as their base, occasionally venturing to sea. This strategy of keeping one foot on shore, crocodiles had mastered perfectly, making them nearly invincible. Extinctions could not affect them at all. When whales began their marine conquest, gharials had already been roaming coastal waters for 20 million years, until the whale family's champion Leviathan appeared. Marine gharials continued to thrive. However, gharials maintaining the last marine crocodile lineage ultimately could not withstand environmental challenges. The Miocene's end brought global cooling, making oceans icy cold. Marine crocodiles that had roamed for millions of years gradually withdrew from the frigid waters, returning somewhat reluctantly to freshwater territories. Throughout the entire crocodilian story, archosaurs were absolutely the champions of reptile evolution. Crocodilians were archosaur superstars. From the Triassic to present, fighting for 250 million years and still going strong. But ocean dominance seems to be archosaurs' eternal unfulfilled dream. As pioneers of archosaur marine conquest, thalattosuchians in the competitive Jurassic evolved highly marine adapted species. But compared to ichthyosaurs with their advanced live birth, marine crocodiles still fell short. Archosaurs' sophisticated egg-laying system became their greatest barrier to marine life. This shows that evolving advantages in one area requires paying equivalent costs elsewhere. Today we can still glimpse hints of that longing for vast oceans in some descendants. This realm full of opportunities and challenges might yet open a new chapter